Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to our webinar
Hello,
brought
Dylan.
to you by Portugal Realty here on the Silver Coast. We're just going to wait for everybody to join. We still have a lot of people joining. So if those of you that are already joined us, if you could just hold on a few minutes while we wait for more people to come in. In the meantime, you're welcome to drop us a message in the questions section. For those of you listening on mobile, you have a button, I believe, in the top right-hand corner of your phones that lets you put a question. And for those of you on computer, there's a question section as well. If you want to just drop us a question in the question section to say who you are and where you are listening from, that'll be great. Just while we wait a few minutes for people to join. I see we have quite a few people in Europe. It looks like we have some Americans on the chat on the webinar, which is great. So yeah, if you're welcome to. Oh, see, we have Joseph from Virginia, Paul from Belgium, Lee from California. Lee, it's breakfast time for you. So thank you for. I hope your breakfast is going good. It won't be the same without a Portuguese cup of coffee, but hopefully the coffee's not too bad. We've got Lee's already having wine. Okay, that's a good way to start, Lee. That's a great way to start. We've got Michael from Connecticut. We've got Mart from the Netherlands. Irene from Langley. Wow, this is wonderful. Barbara from Oregon. It's also early for you, Barbara. It's also quite early for you. So thank you for our Americans on the webinar. Thank you for doing this in your morning. And for our Europeans, thank you for doing this at the end of your day. Yeah, Engbert from the Netherlands. It's almost dinner time for you, so thank you for joining us. And let's see, we'll wait a little bit longer. Nobody from Portugal. Come on, what's happening here? Fatima from North Carolina. Fatima. That's a Portuguese name at least.
Definitely.
So from North Carolina, you're pretty about your American football team there. They're not great. The Panthers. They could do better. Charlotte, do you know anything about American football that you can contribute to this conversation?
I know who Taylor Swift is dating, but that's it.
No, you see, that's
no, I don't know. I watched the Super Bowl.
Charlotte, you're half Dutch. Where's Noordwijk?
Noordwijk? It's in the north part.
Okay.
Well, Holland is quite small, so it's not like this.
Katarina from Portugal. Thank goodness. Yeah, that's right, Fatima. The Chiefs won. Any people in Kansas? Congratulations on the Super Bowl for the Chiefs. Not for Taylor Swift, for the Chiefs. That was the cool part. Not Taylor Swift. Okie dokie. So more people coming in. Just give us a few more minutes, everybody, to get going. And those of you that have already put your locations in here, I'm just going to start clearing the question section just so that later we can still answer the other questions. We have Sarah living in Dubai at the moment.
It's late for her then.
What time is it in Dubai right now? That's pretty late.
Isn't it +4 hours?
I think
+4,
so.
5? Yeah, it's late in the evening already.
Sorry, it's 9 o'clock.
Yeah, see? 4 hours, yeah.
Okay, you're the most committed one so far, Sarah. Definitely.
She can drink wine.
Lee, thank you. We're going to be talking about São Martinho do Porto for sure in this presentation. So hold on to your horses. We're going to be talking about that location as well. Okie dokie. I think let's start. More people will come in as we go along. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on this webinar. Just a few housekeeping rules, just so that you know how things are going to work. We're going to spend the first half an hour or so just chatting a little bit about different topics on this webinar. We're going to talk about the area in general. We're going to be talking about the buying process. We're also going to be talking about how you can make it simpler for yourselves and make this whole process smoother and simpler. And then at the end, for about 10-15 minutes, we're going to open the floor up to questions and answers. Okay. Also, please be aware, for those of you that are listening, we cannot see you. So if you want to wave or blow kisses or flip us off, we can't see it. But we're happy that you're interacting anyway, and we also can't hear you. So we've got the questions section, like I mentioned before, for your mobile phones. It's in the top right-hand corner of your mobile phone, a questions area that you can pop in a question. And in the if you're following on desktop, it's right there at the bottom of your screen. We will be having a questions and answer section right at the end of all of this for about 10-15 minutes, where we can get to some of your questions. Also, just to let you know, we're going to kind of just go through as many of the questions as we can. If we don't get to your questions, please don't be offended. We will try our best. And also, we're going to try to answer the most sort of relevant questions just for help. And then obviously at the end, we will give you an opportunity to show you how you can be in contact with us after this if you want to talk more and ask more specific questions. So once again, thank you to our Americans who are doing this in the morning. Thank you to our Europeans who are doing this at the end of the day. And just before your dinner, and hopefully this will be a valuable webinar for you, for those of you listening wherever you are in the world. So let's start. I'll talk a little bit about myself. My name is Dylan. I'm originally from South Africa. I've been living here in Portugal since 2009, always on the Silver Coast. I'm a certified realtor with Portugal Realty, and I've been working for the company since the beginning, for the last 15 years. But really, the thing to take away from all this is moving to this area, and in particular to Portugal and the Silver Coast, was really the best decision I ever made. It's my home. It's my happy home. I absolutely love living here. I'm a husband. I'm a father of 3. I have some teenagers as well. That's why my hair on the top of my head is thin and the hair around my beard is starting to go gray and white. But absolutely love living in this part of Portugal. And like I said, it was just the best decision I ever made. And yeah, really happy to accompany people on this journey that some of you might be taking about looking to buy a property here on the Silver Coast. Luckily for all of you, I'm not on my own, so you won't have to hear just my voice this whole time. I'm joined by 2 of my colleagues at Portugal Realty. They are much nicer than me, much cooler than me. They both deserve awards because they work with me every single day. But let me first start off by introducing Charlotte. Charlotte, thanks for being on the webinar. Tell everybody a little bit about you.
Sure. So welcome everybody from all around the world. I'm very happy to see that the Portugal is interesting for many parts of the world. I've been living here for already 5 years. I am half French, half Dutch. So Dutch parents, born and lived in France all my life. German and Brazilian husband. So it's a very international complex. And 5 years ago, we used to live in Berlin, and 5 years ago, we have decided to actually live our dream, to live somewhere warmer, to live somewhere nice, with the ocean, with good food. And so we packed our 2 cats in the car and we drove for 4 days, and that was it. And since then, it really has been the best decision we have ever made. We sleep way deeper at night, let's say. And since then we had a child also, so I'm also a mother. I do not look like my picture because that's something. I change haircuts and hair color very often, so in between the first and the last talk I might change and it might look completely different, so you might not recognize me, but that's just who I am. I like change. And yeah, welcome again.
Thank you very much. Bruno, tell us about you.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for being listening to us today and looking at us as well from all around the world. I have some similarities with Charlotte, others with Dylan. For sure, we have all the same love for Portugal and this area. My history started in France, where I was born and raised by Portuguese parents. My roots are from here, from the Silver Coast. So I grew up in France, but all my life with something in my head telling me that someday I would come back to Portugal. But at some point of my progress, I met my wife, which is French, and I felt my dream would be over. But once I took her to Portugal, to Óbidos, and thanks to that castle, she fell in love with the area. So now we are here with our two kids, my son Samuel, my daughter Diane. Thanks God we took that decision as well, because all that they can do since they are here. My son does horse riding. My daughter can run in the countryside, and me, I can just have those amazing landscapes and work with clients from all around the world and sharing my dreams. So yeah, I'm glad to be here tonight.
Awesome, guys.
Today.
Thank you so much. We're going to hear from you guys as we go along. Let's jump right in and start talking about this, what brought us here, which is the Silver Coast. We have, yeah, like you mentioned, Bruno, we're all quite different. You and I don't agree on football teams, so we'll just put that aside for now.
We can't agree on everything.
Exactly. But let's start off, guys, just with an overview of the Silver Coast. And I thought what would be a good idea, Bruno and Charlotte, is if we just tell our listeners about Silver Coast, kind of some of the sort of the more interesting spots from north to south. And let's start to the north. And it's an area, Charlotte, that not a lot of people will know about. It's for people that are watching. You can see it on the left-hand side of our screen here, where I'm scrolling. Valfurado. Charlotte, tell us a bit about Valfurado and why this is so special.
Valfurado it's really special. Why? Because it's made for people who are very outdoor, who loves nature. It's an area which is very untouched. So when you are on the beach, if you look left or right, it's just beach. It just goes all along the coast. You have a wooden walking path, so you can enjoy some outdoor activity. You have also a cycling path that goes until the beautiful village of São Pedro de Moel, which is, and then I will use a very French word, which is a village which is famous for its bourgeoisie. So it's nobility. It's an area. It's beautiful. You will see it. We will show it to you when you come. But it's an area which is still very typical, where you have all the little cafes, and the beaches are just white sand beaches for kilometers long. And so people who love walking, people who love hikes, running, people who just like to have breakfast in front of the ocean. You don't need to be a sporty to go there, because I'm not a sporty. It's just great to just go there and have your orange juice and just really admire the nature that's there.
Yeah, it's magical.
It's magical.
Bruno, we're going to move 7 kilometers down the coastline to where most people would have heard of, in probably the most famous part of the Silver Coast, because of the giant waves that these crazy guys surf. You can see it in our image here. This is one of the monster waves that gets surfed in Nazaré. But Bruno, as I always hear you saying to your clients, Nazaré's way much more than big waves. Tell us a bit more about Nazaré.
Well, Nazaré, Dylan, and thank you to asking me about Nazaré, because it's indeed a unique place, and I'm happy to speak about that. Well, Nazaré is that kind of place that hits you in the gut. You know, it's that kind of unique places that have that energy, that vibration. You can feel it in the streets. You can hear people speaking with that specific accent in the streets, because Nazaré is a land of fishermen. Nazaré is also the oldest fishing village in Portugal. You know it, guys, already, but most part of the people who are listening to us don't know that. So it's a place with a lot of tradition. That tradition, you can find it in the local market. It's an amazing local market. Once you get inside that place, you are like taken by those all those smells, all those voices, because it's the wives of the fishermen that sell the fish that they fish from the same day. It's the daughters, it's a family, atmosphere. And then if I had to say something else about Nazaré, it's the warm people, the locals that you will find there. They'll always have a smile for you. They will always have a conversation for you. If you need some help, if you need to ask for something, there will be always a nice lady or a nice old man to answer you. So that's, for me, what is Nazaré, beside the beach, beside the beautiful landscapes, beside the giant waves. It's the authenticity of the place. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, and when the ladies are trying to sell you their fish or their thing, it's almost like they're singing. The Nazaré
It's
women
almost,
have this way of
it
talking,
is,
which is, it's like singing. It's just beautiful.
it is.
But Bruno, just take us a little bit further inland from Nazaré. You've also got Alcobaça. Here it's on the top right of our pictures here. Tell us a bit about Alcobaça. It's a neighboring town to Nazaré.
So, Alcobaça is just a charming, typical Portuguese village. Once again, I will use the authenticity for this village because it is. You will find it through, I have to speak about that amazing monastery that we see in the picture, because it's not just a monastery, it's the symbol of the most beautiful love story of Portugal, where Dom Pedro and Dona Inês de Castro are actually buried. You can visit it. They are the Romeo and Juliet of Portugal, and every Portuguese knows that place. Okay, it's right connected with the Portuguese history, and it tells you how deep goes the tradition of this village. And I think everything is cute in Alcobaça. I don't know if you agree with that, Dylan, and Charlotte,
Yeah.
but that little park that is called the Love Park, where you can go. Well, it's a perfect place to take your love there. Yes, it is. It's amazing to have nice walks, because there's a little river that crosses Alcobaça that is really nice, really pleasant, with charming, colorful houses. And also, Alcobaça is an amazing place to taste Portuguese gastronomy. You have some amazing restaurants. I will just speak about one, Castillo. I don't want to do, to do advisement,
Yeah,
but
advice will be stuck here for a long time. If we talk about
Castillo
restaurants.
is an amazing address, and you have much more than one. And on that matter, also, I think Alcobaça is such a small village, but with so many nice restaurants that it deserves to be said today. And I think that's it.
Okay, perfect. Moving down, we're going to try to keep this snappy, but if we do start talking about food, it'll take us a lot longer. So Bruno, you know,
Sorry, guys. You know how connected I am with food. I have to speak about food.
And we have European people listening. It's almost dinner time. We don't want to start making people foam at the mouth and things, you know. So let's just keep it professional, man. It's a family show. Let's move down. We're going to go from Nazaré, 10 kilometers south of Nazaré. You've got São Martinho de Porto. You see this here in the bottom left of our screen. São Martinho de Porto is a beautiful town. It's where our offices are located. Many people that visit for the first time do not believe that this is a naturally shaped bay. It is naturally shaped like this. You know, they try to build things like this in Dubai. This is natural. It's a wonderful family beach. It's voted the best family beach in Portugal for multiple years in a row. And just a wonderful beach to take kids. There's no waves, there's no currents. And it's just an absolutely wonderful beachfront where you can take a stroll with the family, ride a bike. You can see the beach stretches all the way around. You've got Salud de Porto, which is a lovely beachside town as well on the south side of the bay. And São Martinho de Porto has a resident population of about 7,000 people. It's just a lived-in village. So it's just wonderful. You've got restaurants, you've got lovely cafes. There's some dangerous pastry shops, which decide if you want to visit them or not. Because if you go once, then you'll be going back again and again and again. But it's just a typical, like we've been speaking about, a typical authentic Portuguese village where the people are friendly, everyone's happy. You've got an amazing little farmers market there as well, medical center, pharmacies, schools, everything that you need to live in a special place. Let's keep moving down the coastline, Charlotte, and talk about Foz do Aurélio, which is in the bottom right-hand picture here. Tell us a bit about Foz.
For me, Foz, that's my place at heart. Foz is for me, we call it the lagoon of Foz, of Óbidos, sorry. It is because you cannot see it on this picture, but the sea is entering, and in the summer, because of the heat, it dries up, so it becomes a lagoon, it becomes some kind of lake. And with the wind entrance, you have a lot of kite surfing, windsurfing, kayaking, and it's always amazing to see those guys having all those those sporty activities, and it's a beautiful, and you can run. There's a nice running path all along, and on the other side you have a golfing area, which is very nice. And Foz in itself, I love it. Why? Because I'm going to say it again, it's very typical Portuguese village. It has these music stands in the middle, you know, where they do those small festivals in the summer where you have really like music happening. You have everywhere you will go, but also in Foz you have so many restaurants. I tell all my clients, if there's one thing in Portugal you want, is you're not going to lose weight. You're always going to eat and you're always going to drink, and so you have restaurants everywhere. And it's really those typical villages with like the colors on the walls and everything, and those tiles and things. So you know when you're there, you know in which country you are. You're not just doubting. You know where you are, and that's why I really love that area.
Wonderful. We are talking Silver Coast, but there are some the locations along the Silver Coast that are more interior, Bruno, that are absolutely wonderful as well. Tell us a little bit about, we've got it here in the bottom row, the middle picture is Caldas de Rainha, but you also have Óbidos nearby, which I know is your happy place. Tell us a bit about these two more slightly interior locations.
Well, first of all, when we say interior, we're speaking about 10-15 minutes from the beach. So you see, you're never far from the beach. But well, Caldas de Rainha is directly connected with Portuguese history. Sorry, guys, I speak about history because our area is definitely connected to the Portuguese history, and you can see testimonies of the past almost everywhere. But Caldas de Rainha has been founded by the Queen, Rainha Dona Leonor. It was the first thermal hospital in Europe. Can you believe that? So Caldas was built around that. Caldas has a lot of places really charming, narrow streets like you could find in the oldest neighborhoods in Lisbon. But you have also the oldest local market outdoor in Portugal. I like to go there every Saturdays to buy my vegetables, not only, but you can find any type of fresh products from the area. Most part of it from locals, cheese, fruits, vegetables, and then Caldas is also a city of art, directly connected with art. It's a really young city as well, because of the art university that you'll find there. That's what I have to say about Caldas. Lots of infrastructures, lots of schools as well. So it's really important also for the dynamic of the area, for all these villages that need a bit more than what they have in terms of infrastructures. You can find it in Caldas. Caldas is 15 minutes driving from São Martinho do Porto that Dylan presented before, 10 minutes driving from Foz do Aurélio that Charles just spoke about, and 7 minutes driving from Óbidos, where I live, where you'll find for me, the most beautiful village of the country, in the way that it's unique. It's imagine a castle, perfectly preserved, and inside that walls of the castle, you'll find a village, a wonderful village, but not a monument. It's a living village with people inside, with locals, with restaurants, with cafes, with bougainvilleas climbing on the old houses. Everything there is a proof of the past, and that's in these kind of places that you can see the history of Portugal and the roots of our country. So I have to say that also I have to thank Óbidos, because it allowed me to bring my wife here, to raise my kids here, and to live a happy life here, a simple life here. And yes, for me, Óbidos is special.
Yeah, it is. It is. Guys, I mean, one of the things that we've mentioned a couple of times in our just our walk through the area, our overview of the area, is the authenticity. We always talk about Silver Coast as the real Portugal. Charlotte, what do we mean by that? What do we mean when we talk about the real Portugal and the authenticity of the Silver Coast?
For me, the real Portugal means also that when it's winter time, of course, coastal area is very attractive for everybody. But what is important is that in the winter time, when it's not as crowded, when you don't have the tourists that come only for 2 weeks or things like this that are coming to enjoy their holiday time, it's also important that life exists. So even when you come in December and it's, you know, the weather is not as beautiful as in August and things like that, that you can just, people go to work, people bring their kids to school, people are just doing their normal life. And that is something that is also one of the reasons why I moved there. It's very important that you feel like, okay, there's life around, and Portuguese life around, going on with their Portuguese traditions, lifestyles, foods, things like this. And that is what for me means the real, I don't know about you guys, but that's for me what is the meaning of the real Portugal.
Yeah, Bruno, do you want to add to that?
Well, I would say that what we can add to that is simply the simplicity of the life that you will find here. The simplicity in the way, even in the way you walk. I don't know what about you guys. Where do you all come from? I know about Dylan. I know about Charlotte, but I don't know about the ones that are listening to us today. But when I used to live in Paris or in London, I was always walking fast, always looking to my watch, always thinking about the time I will take driving from this point to that point, etc. Will I have time to do this and that? I felt like I had to take a day off to do the simplest things. Here it's totally different. Here people take time, to walk, to have a cafe. People will talk to you in the terrace, even if I don't know you. My neighbors bring me lemons and oranges every year. And if I knock my door and I don't open it, they will just leave the bag on the gate. So I think it's on those it's on the simplest things that you understand what is to live here. Okay.
Yeah.
If I can just add one thing, I always say for me, it's like good food, good people, good weather. More than that, you don't need.
Yeah.
That's the simple life, the real Portugal.
I think sometimes it's difficult to put it into words and to quantify it. We can talk, and we have people listening from all over the world where, things are changing, political situations are changing, countries are changing, the towns that they live in are different from what they remember. For me, living here 15 years, this has never changed. And those things that you guys have mentioned, the people, the quality of life, the calmness, the simplicity, the peace, this is still here. And this is what makes this such a magical and wonderful place to live in. And I'm just so grateful that it's my home. But for me, nothing has changed here in 15 years in terms of the way it feels and the way you're welcomed and the way people talk to you and look at you in the eye and smile, and the friendly bon dias and the farmer's market, the lady who gives Benjamin, my little son, pears every time we go there. These things haven't changed, and these things, you can't put a price tag on that. And that's what makes it so special. I'll talk a little bit about the investment side of things on the Silver Coast, which is just, I just want to touch on it because it is super interesting. We have, when you look at the Silver Coast from an investment perspective, it's a simple matter of supply versus demand. There is a growing demand in the area because people want this authentic lifestyle. People want to be in an area where it's calm, where it's safe, where it's the real Portugal. But we have limited supply. We do not have a lot of real estate. We spoke about a couple of these towns along the coastline, but in between these towns, there's a lot of green space, a lot of untouched beaches and untouched coastline, a lot of natural reserves. And this makes the area very interesting. These urban parts of the Silver Coast, these residential parts, they cannot get much bigger than what they are right now. And as a result, property prices for people that are in a position to invest can only go up because the demand continues to grow for an area like this and the supply is not growing at the same rate. So that's just an interesting thing to be aware of when it comes to investment. Let's move along to the buying process. And it's really important for for people to know where to start. And Bruno, maybe you can talk about, for anybody that's listening who is looking to make the move, is looking to start the process of finding a home, what would you recommend as a place for a way that people can start?
Sure. First of all, I have to say that I've been through that. Charlotte has been through that. Dylan has been through that. We all had at the time to understand where we would have to start. What I would advise today, after being through that, after all those years giving advisement to clients, I would say you have to do your homework first. What do I mean by your homework? You have to go online to do your own research. You need to understand the market from that perspective, understand the price from a price perspective, from a location perspective. Take the maximum information from there. Then it is really important to start a conversation with a people that you trust, with a person that you trust. Speak with one, speak two, with three, and then choose just the one that is the best for you, the one that seems to be the most professional, the one that will follow you for all the buying process, because it's really important. Then explore the locations, come here and make your own idea of the place, because obviously we can guide you at this stage. We can tell you with our words, as you can see, with our feelings, how this place look like. But if you come here, you will put your own words on it. And once you can put your own words on it, we professionals can help you. We can do our job.
Perfect. Charlotte, I mean, just talk about a little bit about what you would recommend to people of establishing their objectives and having a bit of a clear idea of what they want.
Yeah, so even before talking about properties, it is important for yourself to know who you are, what kind of person you are, what kind of lifestyle you want, before even figuring out, I want 3 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms, things like this. It's important for yourself. One of the things that I see not often, but sometimes with clients, is that they are not aligned with their spouse. That's also something that's very important. You need to talk with your spouse. If one wants an apartment and the other one wants a house, you already have a big problem, because it's not the same type of life, things. So before even researching properties, have conversations. It's all about communication. It's all about talking about, okay, but what do we want? Do we prefer being more in nature? Do we actually want to be in the heart of the city center and close to everything? Are we more quiet people? Are we people that like to be in the storm? Things like this. So those are very important parts. It's also very important to know a little bit your timeline. When do you want to move? Are you looking to move in the next 3 months? Are you looking to move in the next 5 years? Things like this are important, especially when you buy new build or things like this. With your time frame, you need to see. It's then also important to know your financials. It's already important even before looking at properties to know your financials. What I mean with knowing your financials, it's just like being aware. Do I need to sell my property before? Do I have the cash? Is everything in my stocks and my equity? Things like this, just so that you know that even if, for example, even if everything is in stocks and equity, so the cash is available or whatever, if I find the right property, what is my next move? So it's better to be prepared before than to have to do it afterwards when you have a property you really like, but it takes a bit of time and you don't know. So it's really important to really have a clear objective on what kind of lifestyle you want. How do you envision yourself living in Portugal? And then from there on, then everybody can help you, and everybody will be very happy to help you with the last little questions you might have. But it's important for yourself to already know what you want.
Okay, awesome. Let's move it along. I think, just for people just to have a basic understanding of how, once you've gone through these steps that Charlotte and Bruno are talking about, you've spoken to somebody, you've met someone that you can trust, you've spoken to a local expert, you've identified the type of lifestyle you want, the type of location you want to be in, the type of property you want. I'll just chat quickly about the steps involved in securing a property here. It won't be too dissimilar to what most of our listeners are listening to, but generally speaking, usually To secure a property, you'll be asked to put down some kind of a reservation, about 1%. From there, it would usually be a deposit and CPCV. Okay, a CPCV is a very important document here in Portugal. It's a contract of purchase and sale. It's a promissory contract of purchase and sale where you're promising to buy the property and the seller is promising to sell you that property. It's a legally binding document. Okay, and from there, everything happens at a notary, where a title deed will take place, where usually the remaining money after the deposit, so whether it's a 25% deposit or a 50% deposit on the property, you would then pay the remaining amount at title deed when the land or the land or the property is exchanged and becomes yours outright. Okay, but I don't want to get too sort of bogged down into the details of this, because it also depends on whether it's an apartment, whether it's an off-plan property, whether it's a villa that you're building. These can vary. So this is something that we'd encourage you guys to get in touch with us after the webinar to chat more about. We are running out of time, but let's just chat a little bit about how you can make this whole process simple. Like we mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, we have people that are listening here from all over the world, and there are differences, guys. And I think that's everybody listening, I think that's the most important thing to be aware of as buying as a foreigner. For Europeans, it'll be relatively similar. For people in the UK, we do not have leasehold properties in Portugal. Everything is freehold. For people listening from the US, we do not have an MLS here in Portugal, a multi-listing system. It's not common for us to have buying agents or selling agents. So just be aware that things are slightly different, and this is where it's so important to speak to a local expert who can help navigate you through that. Charlotte, if you can talk about, why it's important for people to have a full service solution, a turnkey solution, how important that is to have all of those services that they may or may not need along the way, important for them in this process.
Of course, well, it is, of course, buying the property is step one, but you have other steps afterwards. You have, I don't know, you have furniture, you have accounting, you have connecting to the utilities, you have all these steps. And it's nice that after buying a property, you're not just sent away to another company. So we have the opportunity to help you if you need it. Nothing is pushed, but if you need it, we have the opportunity to help you with so after buying, you have the project management part, which will help you to, in some cases, choose the color of your tiles, things like this. You have the person who will help you to connect to the utilities. We have a furniture department. We have an accounting department if needed. For some people who might not use it all year long, they might want some property management, who is taking care of their property when they're not there. And of course, if you do decide to want to rent it out, if that's one of your parts, we have the possibility to help you completely. A lot of people like it because we are all under the same umbrella, how I call it, which means sometimes, if they don't remember the name from someone, they can always email me, and then I know immediately who is already responsible. I know immediately who they have been in contact with, so I can just give a quick message, can you contact the client because he needs something. So the communication goes quicker also, because we all work together, we all know each other together, we all celebrate Christmas parties together, so we really know each other. So a lot of people like it because we are just a big family.
Yes, just to add what Charlotte's talking about, Portugal Realty is part of the Leisure Launch Group, okay? And within the Leisure Launch Group, our clients have access to the Simple Life Home Buyer Program, which gives you access to all of the different services that Charlotte's referring to. So from the realty services that myself, Charlotte, Bruno, for our Belgian listeners, we have Tim, Anna and Rita from Emo Portugal, part of the same group. We have property management services, we have rental company services, we have furniture and interior decor services from Portugal Interiors. We have accounting service to help you with your tax needs, and then project management as well. So for new build properties, we have a dedicated team of project managers that will accompany you through the entire process. So all of these services are available, and it's just super important that you can work with someone where all of these services are available under one roof. And Bruno, this comes back to what you said at the beginning, is choosing the right partner, choosing someone that you can trust. This is so important, isn't it?
It is, and thank you for the transition, because actually I wanted to start about talking about that. Speaking with a professional will be the most important part of your buying process, because after selecting that person, it's from that person that all the next steps will be connected. You have good tools to help you choosing the right person. Go on internet, see the reviews. A strong company, a serious company will have reviews to show the experience of his client. So go on internet, look at the reviews to make your own idea of the brand. Then call the brand that you will select, and see if you have the feeling over the phone with the person. And once you have the feeling, then just let it go. Once you trust the person, let it go, because you need to trust the person you will work with. It's really important. After that as well, I would like to say that it's important to be honest. As for a real professional, we must be honest. We share with you our background. We tell you what we think is the best for you. You also need to be honest by sharing information. Don't be shy to share your budget. Don't be shy to share your background, because it will help us to advise you. It will help us to take you to the perfect property for you and your family.
Perfect. All right, guys, we've got a few minutes left for questions. So anybody that wants to pop some questions into the chat here, I'm going to try to address and I'll distribute them where I can. We do initially have a question here from Ken North, talking about changes in 2023 that may affect property ownership for people who do not live in Portugal. Ken, there are no restrictions for people that are not Portuguese citizens in owning property. So wherever you are in the world, you can own property in Portugal. There are some restrictions that have started to happen in Portugal in terms of renting your property out, but in terms of property ownership, there are no restrictions. You can own a property as a foreigner in Portugal without being a citizen. Okay, so I hope that answers your question. Thanks for that. We also have a question here from Sarah. Sarah, do banks provide housing loans for non-residents? Yes, they do. In a nutshell, yes, they do. There's basically, for Europeans, you should be looking at getting at about 70% loan to value. The same for Americans. For people outside of the EU, you should be looking about 50 to 60% loan to value. They will consider things like your age, your income, and your nationality. But we do help our clients arrange finances for their home purchase. So this is something that is very much possible. A question for you, Bruno, which comes from Anna. Do I need a lawyer to buy a house in Portugal? And if so, could Portugal Realty provide me with that service in-house?
Okay, first, I would say I would add something that you don't have to, but you need to, in my opinion, to have a lawyer, because even if Portugal, the buying process in Portugal is quite similar to most part of the northern countries in Europe, there's some differences. And also the fact that you won't speak the same language than the persons who will take, I mean, from an administrative perspective, that will take your process. You need to have somebody trustable and professional who will guide you and advise you regarding the Portuguese law. So yes, I would have advised you to have a lawyer. And no, we don't provide that service simply because there would be a conflict of interest. The client, the buyer needs to be, let's say, accompanied and protected by a professional lawyer that has nothing to do with the company that is doing the mediation or the builder. So we can advise you, trustable lawyers that we've been working with since almost 20 years, and we'll be happy to do that. But no, we don't have that service.
Okay, yeah. So it's really important, guys, to understand legal services should be in an independent process. But like Bruno said, we're happy to recommend people in our network, but it's not a service that we provide in-house, just purely because your lawyer should work for you independently. Okay. A question from Bart. How about language in Portugal? Is English okay? Charlotte, as
I
a
myself,
multilingualist, tell us about
I,
that.
I am a multilingualist, but Portuguese was not part of my language. I was amazed about the amount of people speaking English. I am French, so maybe that's why I was amazed about the amount of the people speaking English in this country. But no, most people honestly speak English. Maybe the old lady at the market might not speak English, and you will have to get your few sentences out to order your fish and things like this. But everything that is bureaucracy, everything that is getting your internet, everything, everybody speaks English, and if they don't, there's always this English department that takes over. So you won't have any trouble. At least in all the years that I've been living here, I never had any problem to get myself understood, especially also hospitals, things that are important to speak in the language that you feel comfortable. Everybody speaks very good English here.
Okay, perfect. Thanks. Okay, we have another question we're going to let this run on a little bit longer because we do have quite a few questions. So I hope anybody that needs to run off and have dinner, please do. Our contacts are available on our website. From Chris, we are considering buying a studio apartment in a university area or not far from the coast and be able to rent out during school year and use it ourselves in the summer. Definitely a good location for this type of thinking, Chris. You've got a large resident population in the area. You've got a lot of schools. You do have universities in places like Caldas. So that is definitely something that you can do, especially on a long-term basis. From Michael, can you talk about property value forecast given upcoming political elections and recent elimination of NHR and golden visa? Michael, we're not seeing an effect on this at all. NHR, it is what it is, was never supposed to be a long-term program. Golden visa as well. Certainly for our clients in the Silver Coast, it's a very, very small percentage that have bought for those purposes. The main reason people are buying here is to come and have a simple life, to enjoy the location, to live in a calm place, and just to enjoy the special location. So we're not seeing an effect at all in terms of property prices. CS, we'll talk about where our our offices are located at the end and how you can reach out. Let's see what else we've got here. We have two questions about taxes. So basically, when you're considering buying a property in Portugal and you're going to look at closing costs, your closing costs, you should always factor between 7 and 8% will be your closing costs on the purchase of a property. That will cover legal fees, notary fees, stamp duty, and property transfer tax. This will also vary depending on what you're buying. If you're buying a pre-construction property, which is a plot with a project approved for a house to be built on, your property buying costs are going to be reduced because the property buying costs will be calculated on the plot of the land, not just the overall cost. So that's something to be aware of. And then we did have a question as well about annual property taxes. Yes, we do have annual property taxes in Portugal that will vary from destination and municipality, but usually no more than 0.45% of the municipal valuation of the property. And another question from Vim, when there is a buying price for a villa, does this include all the costs? Vim, this will include your VAT, but it won't include the closing costs. Those closing costs are separate costs in terms of your your lawyer's fees, your notary fees, your transfer tax, and things like that. Okay. A question for Charlotte: how suitable is the Silver Coast as a place to live permanently? Charlotte.
Permanently. Well, it's a great place because it's an area which, as I said before, is everybody, 80% of the people live there all year long. It's an area which, even when it's not beach time, where you're not going to walk in your bikini, everything is open. All the restaurants are open. All the shops are open. You have a just normal daily life, and so it's an area where you can easily live all year long. You don't have the feeling of being in a ghost city because, well, that exists everywhere around the coast in all the countries. So it's really an area where you can easily be part of, and you can easily be part of the community.
Perfect. Okay, last word from our panelists. Bruno, what do you want to what do you want people to take away from our webinar today?
Well, first of all, I hope they had a little taste of what is to live here. I hope that between the three of us, they understood a bit of what is a daily life here. I also hope it helps them to better organize their first steps in their project of buying a property in Portugal, relocating in Portugal, and yes. That's what I hope for them.
Wonderful. Charlotte.
I want everybody to understand that we know it's not easy to move. And especially, so it's already not easy to move in your own country. Moving to another country or moving across the ocean, we understand that it's not easy. We understand that it's a lot of stress. We understand. And so we are there to help you all along the way. So of course, like we talked before, it's important to be a little bit ready in the fact that you need to ask yourself the right questions. But we are there to ask you also the right questions that you might not have thought about. And we are there to take your doubts away. And so we don't just see us as real estate. We are also advisors. We are there to also tell you how to make it easier and how to, it's a conversation. It's a lot of conversation, a lot of talking, a lot of getting to know each other. We are very likable people, especially me. And no, so it's a whole conversation. It's a whole way of getting to know each other. I see you smirking, both of you, but it is how it is. And so we are there to help you. We understand you.
Wonderful, thank you. One more question just quickly that's came in from Joseph. Do you have to establish a bank account and tax number before purchasing? Before purchasing, not. You can go start the process without having to have a tax number, bank account, but eventually you will need those things, Joseph. But they are super easy to do. It can be done remotely, and it's something that we can assist with as well along the way. Okay. We come to the end, everybody. Thank you for hanging on until the end. Here's a way that you can reach out to us. For those of you that didn't get an answer to your question, I'm sorry I didn't answer all the questions. There were a lot that came in. As you are aware, we do, sorry, what did I just do? Sorry, this is live, so there's some problems happen along the way, and I do have fat fingers. That's too much pasta. Anyway, please feel free to get in touch with us. If you go onto our website, in the top right-hand corner of our website, there's a contact section, and you can book a free call in English, French, or Dutch, and we'll be happy to have a chat with you all. So please definitely be in touch. Our website is portugal-realty.com, and our office is located in São Martinho do Porto on the shell-shaped bay. And thank you so much. There's our contact details. We have offices here in Portugal and in Belgium. You can follow us all on social media. You can also follow our podcast called Portugal: The Simple Life. And please follow us on social, on YouTube, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, Facebook. We're there as well. Thank you so much to everybody that joined. Thank you, Bruno and Charlotte. You guys were great. I'll think about doing this again with you guys. We'll have to chat about it later. But thank you so much to everybody that listened, and look forward to seeing you again for another webinar one of these days soon. All the best. Bye-bye, everybody. Obrigado. Boa noite.
Bye. Thank you. Merci. Au revoir. Adeus.
Bye-bye.